How do you get groceries without a car? What about Costco? What if you have a kid? Do you know what nature is? Surely you hate your life? I've been living car-free for my entire time in Montreal, about 5 years. And the amazing thing is just how normal and unremarkable it feels. That's not to say there aren't challenges, but they don't exactly line up with what people think. So I wanted to go over the questions that people ask the most about car-free living, and what the reality has been like for us here in this city. How do you get groceries without a car?
I usually walk to the grocery store with a backpack and/or reusable grocery bags.
We'll pick up some food every second day on average, me or my partner. We have multiple grocery stores within an easy walk.
Sometimes I take a bike to go faster or further. One backpack, one grocery bag in the basket. Not bad.
Very often we'll pick up groceries on the way home from something else. I've never really wished to do one big weekly haul in a car.
Sometimes we buy heavier or bulkier items like flour, protein, or diapers. We'll either plan to get fewer things that day or just get it delivered.
Are big box stores part of your routine?
We buy lots of our food at larger, cheaper grocery stores like this. It's not just small boutiques. We do have a Costco we could reasonably bike to if we wanted, but it's more effort, and we've never been in the habit. This is still pretty cheap.
How do you buy bigger things like furniture? Delivery. It's usually free. It wouldn't ever occur to me that we'd be better served picking it up.
If we want it, we could use car share. A short 2-hour rental is $10 to $20. If you need more space than a regular car, you can get this spacious 8-seat minivan.
How do you get out in nature without a car? We got really into bike trips during COVID. We've been all around the Montreal region. Quebec is pretty great for recreational cycling routes, and the REM gives us a head start in getting out of the city now. To be honest though, I don't really feel like I lack access to nature in the city. There are certain features that I like to take trips to see, mountains, the ocean, but generic nature, I quite like hiking on Mount Royal in the middle of the city. I like sitting by the St. Lawrence River, having a picnic in the park with friends. I do feel more cooped up in winter. Not sure if having a car would fix that though. Wanting to get away from this for a week or two is pretty universal. How do you do long-distance trips? And how affordable is renting a car? For the most common trips that we do, Toronto and Halifax, the fastest way is flying. We have rented cars before if we had to transport larger things, but on pure convenience, a 1 to 2 hour flight is easily better than a 6 to 12 hour drive. We are considering doing this 2-hour drive to see the Eastern Townships region of Quebec.
A 4-day car share is about $250, including gas. Car share is extremely popular in central Montreal. In this borough, 25% of households have a membership. Almost half of them use it weekly.
This is the oldest car sharing service in North America. What about other recreation? Concerts, museums, sports, all exist within the city. I have a friend. Let's call him Paige.
Hi, I'm Paige.
He's recently been doing sports and activities all over town.
Bouldering, tennis, volleyball, skiing and skating, tons and tons of classes. It's pretty much every day of the week. I get Sundays off. The things I really love that I do every single week are ballet, dragon boating, and underwater rugby.
But he doesn't even have a driver's license.
It's kind of funny considering that a stereotypical midlife crisis is buying a sports car, but I've done all of this on a bike.
I can think of hobbies and activities that, if I was already into them, I'd be disappointed to lose access to by giving up a car. Fishing, hunting, hiking, camping, downhill skiing. But if you start from I live in a city and I don't have access to a car, there is no shortage of activities to do.
The only time we needed a car was when there was a underwater rugby tournament up in Timmins.
Gamo! Gamo! Gamo!
And we all rented a car and split the costs. It was like $100. It's a lot cheaper than owning a car, that's for sure.
Also, while an avid skier or camper probably does want a car, there's a campground I can easily bike to here. Buses go to this ski resort in the winter. There's a bus for provincial parks in the summer. How do you handle childbirth without a car? We took a taxi to the hospital in the middle of the night. To go home, some friends picked us up in their van. A taxi could have been okay too. We just didn't know how to install a car seat at the time. Depending on how the birth goes, transit isn't necessarily a crazy option. How do you transport your kid without a car? Carrier, stroller, bike seat, bus or metro, sometimes taxis. We have had some challenges. Many stores and metro stations are not well suited to strollers, and it took us a year to figure out biking with him. Video on that coming later. I thought having a baby would make longer distance trips much more appealing by car, but not exactly. It turns out that you cannot change a diaper in a moving car like you can on a train. Are you afraid to bike with your child? On infrastructure like this, not really. On infrastructure like this, yeah, more so, especially if there's heavier traffic. It definitely raises our standards and reduces the routes we consider acceptable. What if your pet gets sick? We have normal vets within easy walking distance. Once we had to go to an emergency vet after hours and we just took a cab. Obviously not as practical if you have a large dog, although someone did ask about a ferret.
Car share might work for this too.
Are cargo bikes practical? And what do you do without good infrastructure? I think the most practical kind is a long-tail cargo bike. Don't get me wrong, I love box bikes too, but this is cheaper. It handles more like a regular bike, and it's easier to store, even if it doesn't provide quite as much cargo capacity. Without good infrastructure, you can often make it work on calmer side streets. Often that's okay for getting to schools and parks, but less so for commercial destinations. But yeah, I'm just not willing to be as brave with a kid as I would be on my own. Is crime a problem? Violent crime just isn't that big of a problem in my city. Property crime? Sometimes. Bike theft is very real and a deterrent to getting a cargo bike. Drugs and erratic behavior can be an issue near some metro stations downtown. I probably wouldn't choose to live right next door to those, but it's not so bad that I've ever really questioned transiting through. How do you afford to live in a walkable neighborhood? Is it just for rich people? I've done the calculations for us, and moving to a suburban apartment of the same size would save us maybe $500 a month in rent. But those savings would basically disappear if we had to own a car, or especially 2 cars. So for us, overall, it's not really a more expensive lifestyle. It's more like a different way to spend the same money, or even to save money, depending on the kind and number of cars we'd otherwise have to own. But this depends a lot on household structure. In Montreal's most stereotypically walkable borough, a couple can easily afford a 1-bedroom apartment, each making minimum wage, assuming they work full-time. But single people, or bigger families, need higher incomes, potentially substantially higher. That's where affordability pressures show up most strongly. A single parent who needs a 3-bedroom apartment is much worse off than a childless couple. So not everyone experiences expensive neighborhoods in quite the same way. Obviously, the exact numbers will depend on your city. If we use a Vancouver example, all the numbers go up. But the same relative pattern holds. And if you need to own a car anyway, for whatever reason, walkable neighborhoods do become more of a luxury. How much do you spend on transportation? For me, personally, about $100 a month on local transportation, including transit fares, bike share, maintenance on my personal bike, and the occasional taxi.
For context, I walk more than I bike more than I take transit, and I take transit more than taxis or cars.
Travel outside the city is $1,000 to $2,000 a year, including something like a major flight to Europe once a year. Does not owning a car reduce your job opportunities? There have been some jobs in inconvenient suburban locations that I've avoided applying to in my life, but most of the jobs that I've ever been interested in have been downtown, otherwise transit accessible, or remote. Canadian cities tend to have stronger downtown job concentrations than US ones. This will vary by sector though. Manufacturing and industrial jobs are often in places like this. How do you cope with less free time? I honestly don't feel like I have much less free time. A short walk to the grocery store or daycare really is easy and convenient. Cycling really is about as fast as driving for medium-distance trips within dense cities. Transit is more often slower. Today I took a trip to the suburbs where a car would have saved me an hour, maybe an hour and a half of total travel time. But that's not routine for me, it's like once or twice a month. While having a car for some trips would save me time, using a car for all of them would not. I really value being active. It's one of my foundational reasons to be interested in urbanism. When I stay with friends or family in more car-centric places, I find myself frustrated and sedentary unless I set aside an hour every day to go for a walk, to get the same number of steps that I naturally get in the city.
If you're into recreation and sports, then why wouldn't you ride there on a bike? Do you know what I mean? It's a kind of natural fit. And a lot of people that participate in this stuff ride their bikes here.
Do you stress about the cost of an Uber, car share, or car rental when you need it? I'm definitely more on the try to make it work without a car side of the spectrum. Partly it's cost, partly it's enjoying physical activity, and partly it's habit. But when a car is clearly a big upgrade, we'll typically use it. We'll often take a taxi to the airport, especially at night or returning home after a long flight. And we use taxis a good amount during pregnancy too. Where is car-free living practical? It's a spectrum. Even in central Montreal, car-free living isn't practical for everyone. I've also lived car-free in Ottawa and Halifax, two smaller, more car-oriented cities. What I found was that living centrally and choosing where to live carefully, most regular needs were still walkable or bikeable. But the number of trips where a car would save a lot of time definitely increased. If we still lived there, we'd probably be more regular users of car share, or aim to be a one-car household instead of fully car-free. Can you live car-free in rural areas? Having grown up in one, I personally would not want to live there without a car. Public transit didn't exist, and cycling was not competitive with driving over those distances like it often is in the city, even if there was infrastructure for it, which there wasn't. This can be more practical in some European countries where rural areas are set up differently and transit at least often exists. But even there, rural car ownership is pretty high. What's interesting is that the hardest parts of car-free living haven't been what people often expect. Groceries, errands, nature, furniture, all non-issues in my experience. The biggest concerns for me are things like housing affordability. My city isn't as bad as many others, but I worry about it getting worse. Or the fact that a lot of lower quality bike infrastructure is not an option with a child. Both of these are policy choices that can be fixed, by the way. Thinking through this video, I realized just how much all of this is habit and expectation. Costco can be nice, but it doesn't feel essential because we've never built our routine around it. But having grocery stores, parks, cafes, and other routine needs within walking distance feels completely normal, and losing all of that would feel like a sacrifice. I'm not ideologically opposed to owning a car, but I value the money we save and the active lifestyles we're able to live with walking, cycling, and transit. Car-free living isn't for everyone, but it's more practical than you might think, especially if you have some control over where you live. Hopefully this video demystified how it works for many of us. Thanks for watching through to the end of the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and a special thanks to our supporters on Patreon.